Hey, what's going on YouTube? Coming at you with a video today that I believe is going to help you take your builds to the next level and help you wire up your system like a professional. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things, and I'm going to show you from worst to best of how you can wire your system, splice wires together like a pro. And hey, real quick, before we get started here, as promised from the last video I did with the bass knob giveaway, I just want to give a shout out to the winner. Here he is right here, Mr. D. Dolan. Congratulations again. Hope you're enjoying that bass knob, buddy. And thank you everybody that entered the last giveaway. It was great. I wish I had a bass knob to give away to everyone, but I'm looking forward to doing these more in the future, so stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for this video, I'm going to be going over 5 of the most common ways I've seen people splice wires together in car audio. Some obviously have no place anywhere near car audio. Some are acceptable. And obviously there's the industry standard way of doing things. I'm gonna go into each one and explain why you should or shouldn't be using this method for installing car audio gear. So without further ado, let's get her going. All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off with probably the worst way to splice wires together in a car audio application. These things are called wire twist connectors, and they're designed for home use, not for automotive use. Think electrical junction boxes and things like that. Basically, you just strip the ends of 2 wires together and go ahead and pick a cap of proper size, twist it on, and voila, they're connected. The reason why you don't want to use these for car audio is basically 2 reasons. One, they're not weatherproof. Okay, very easy for water to get in there, moisture, condensation, you know, when you're warming up a car on a cold day, and it's easy for it to corrode in there. There's absolutely no protection or anything like that. Second reason is over time, they can vibrate loose, okay? Going down the road on your daily driver, let alone the bass in your massive car audio build will eventually vibrate these things loose, and you'll have an exposed wire, which is never good in any kind of electronic system. So let's keep these for home use, okay? Please, no, just don't use it for car audio. All right, that brings us to number 2 here. Definitely not a preferred way to splice car audio wires together. Better than number 1 over here, but there are a lot better ways to do things. That's why I call it try again, or the black tape method. Basically, all people do is they strip the 2 ends of the wires and splice them together and then wrap it in black tape. I'm going to take the tape off here because I'm going to show you another mistake that a lot of new people do when splicing wires together. Let me go ahead and fast forward here while I get this black tape off. All right, so I wanted to take the black tape off because here's another mistake a lot of people do when they splice wires together, is they splice them together like that. Using the black tape method, it's just a recipe for disaster, because as you can see, it doesn't take much force and they just come right apart. I'm gonna go over the proper way to splice wires as we get down towards the better and best way. But what a lot of novices do is they just basically put the ends together and just twist, and then pretty much just like bend it over and tape, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I did that. I used to do that when I was in high school, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to solder, right? I think everybody can say that they've done that before, but that is not the right way to do it, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So like step 2 says, try again. And one more thing about the black tape method too, before I move on, is, you know, the reason why you don't wanna do it is for 2 reasons. It's not 100% weatherproof. I can't tell you how many times, whether it's under the hood, under the dash, that I've taken the tape off and the wires were green and corroded underneath. So it's very easy for condensation and moisture to get underneath the electrical tape. Reason being is with time, you have heat that can make the tape very brittle and it just kind of breaks off. You know, anybody that's installed knows what I'm talking about. And again, it's just not a preferred way to connect your wires together in a car audio application. That brings us to number 3. And like it says, it's okay to do it that way, okay? It's not the best way. It's definitely better than electrical tape. It's better than wire twist connectors, but it's definitely not the preferred way. I can't tell you how many installers I've seen use these for car audio applications and just think that it's okay. Again, I wouldn't do it. I would, focus on this end of the spectrum. But, a lot of people still use these. And what you do is very simple. You just strip two ends of the wires, basically just like this over here, okay? But the only difference is it's a crimp cap, okay? These are called crimp caps. So instead of a twist connector where you twist it on, you just basically stick your exposed ends in there, okay? And then I'll go ahead and do it here. You take your wire crimper. There we go. Voila. Okay. Now, the reason why this is acceptable and okay in car audio is because it's vibration proof. It's not going to vibrate loose like these will, okay? Because these are just held on literally by friction, by twist. These are actually crimped on. As you can see, let me let it focus in here. There it is. As you can see, it's actually crimped. So they're not going to vibrate off, but the reason why I still think it's not optimal is because it's not weatherproof still. You see, I've seen these things corrode still inside of these. So definitely not the preferred way to do it. It's an acceptable way, but there's a lot better ways to do it. All right, that brings us to number 4, the better way to do things in contrast to these past 3 methods. These little guys right here are called solder and seal wire connectors. It's basically a way where you can splice 2 wires together and have a weatherproof casing and also a solder joint without actually soldering it and without having to use heat shrink. It's kind of an all-in-one package. It's a pretty cool invention, I would say, for people that don't like soldering. Maybe they don't know how to solder. They don't want to know how to solder. It's a pretty easy, quick way, an efficient way, an effective way to go ahead and splice 2 wires together for car audio applications. All right, so this is what you do. You get 2 wires and strip the ends equally, so they're the equal length. And then this is the preferred way that I've always been taught and that I've always seen professionals use to go ahead and splice wires together. So you start about right there, about a quarter of the way up from the ends, and then you go ahead and twist at a right angle, okay? So that's basically what you're looking at right there like that. And what you do is you just slowly start to twist very, very tightly together. Very, very tightly until you reach the end. Okay? Just like that, okay? Now, I don't stop there. What I do is I pull on both ends just enough to kind of cinch it together, okay? A lot of people don't do that last step, but after you twist it like that, you just pull a little bit and it just cinches it together a little bit tighter. All right, so now that you got that spliced together, and something to note, I didn't note it because I have the ends open here, but before you splice the wires together, obviously you want to make sure that you slide your connector on the wire first and then splice them. That way you don't give yourself headaches of having to undo it and redo it again, okay? But once you got that spliced together, then you go ahead and take your solder and seal connector and just go ahead and slide it over your connection that you just got done twisting. Just like so. And then you just grab your heat gun. I got this heat gun here. It's an industrial strength heat gun. Let me go ahead and back up here. I recommend using it because it just goes a lot quicker than trying to, bum your wife's hair dryer, which doesn't even melt solder most of the time. The solder that's in these solder and seal connections are a low temperature solder. So you could do it with a hair dryer. It's just going to take you a heck of a lot longer. But let me go ahead and readjust the camera here real quick. Okay, so I'm going to fire up my, whoa, there they go. And go ahead. There we go. As you can see, it kind of melted there. It didn't coat the wiring, obviously completely, but it did kind of seep into the wiring there in the center. It's not a perfectly soldered wire, which is why it's not the best way, but it is better. And it is pretty solid. It is very solid, actually. I can imagine that we can, let me try here. Yeah, it's pretty strong. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna break this thing right here. I, for the life of me, could not pull that apart, and I'm not a weak person. So yes, this is very, very strong. It is weatherproof. That's what I like about it too, is as you can see, it completely sealed the end, just like heat shrink. So you don't have to worry about the elements getting in, and it is incredibly strong. You know, if this is all you did and you didn't want to buy a soldering gun and solder and have to deal with all that junk, this is definitely a viable option for you to go ahead and properly splice two wires together. They come in a kit like this. You can get all different sizes, and they're actually pretty cheap too. Gosh, I think this whole kit here was about 10 bucks. So it's definitely a great option if you don't want to, you know, bring out the solder gun and solder, which takes us to number 5 here, the best way to connect two wires together in the car audio world. All right, so that brings us to the best way to connect your wires together for car audio applications. I'm going to explain why this is the best method to do so. So again, not only is it the industry standard, but it's the strongest connection, I believe. It's the best electrical connection, and it's weatherproof, okay? And on top of that, it's literally the thinnest way that you can do it, so that way when you're bunching wires together, think like when you're doing a harness coming out the back of your head unit, right? You got a bunch of wires together. It's just super nice. It's not a bulky way to do it, and you can put, you know, 10, 20 wires there next to each other, and you're not going to add any thickness to the wire. So basically how you solder, again, this is not going to be a how-to solder video, okay? There's plenty of information on how to do that on YouTube. You know, search how to solder wires together. I'm not going to do that here, okay? But it's very simple. You basically just twist your wires together like I showed you how to do in step 4. That you go ahead and warm up your soldering gun, grab some solder, you go ahead and solder that joint there, make sure you get good coverage. And once that's done, you get your heat shrink, go ahead and put it over the connection, heat it up with your heat gun, and voila, this is what you're left with right here, okay? And again, it is the strongest, most weatherproof, reliable connection there is when doing your car audio wiring. Again, I can pull the heck out of this, and it ain't going anywhere, okay? I cannot say the same. Whoa, 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 technical foul. I cannot say the same for these other connections here because they're just simply not as strong, especially if you don't connect your wires together properly like I showed in these two methods here. All right, YouTube, well, I hope that helped you all, whether you're a novice and you're just getting into car audio wiring, or you're an intermediate, or maybe you're a pro and just needed that validation that all the extra work you're doing soldering wires together is worth it and it's the right thing to do. But I hope this video helped add value to you no matter where you're at in your car audio journey, and help you take it to the next level. Let's get loud.